Arrived here on their own mission of conquest, pretending to be coming to trade or coming to spread the gospel. But eventually, they began with entering into treaties with the territories they first got into. You had the Lagos colony in 1861, you had the Ori Rivers, all of them in bits and pieces from the southern flank coming from the Atlantic waterfront. Now, having entered into those treaties, they were pushing in, hinterland and northwards. If you take the map of Nigeria, look beyond Nigeria, you will see that as at that time, the eastern side where you have Cameroon now had been taken by Germany, until they lost the war. In the northern, to the northern side of Nigeria, you had Niger, you had Chad, you had Niger Republic. To the west, you had what's it called, Benin Republic. That means the French had taken all these territories, beyond the borders of Nigeria, apart from Cameroon that came from German to French control after the World War. Now, what the British were doing at the time they were pushing northward was an attempt to take the balance of the territory. But there was something that prevented them from getting to the northernmost flank. We remember too that there was the Fulani jihadists who had arrived in 1804 from the Sokoto flank. They came from outside, invaded the place, and conquered the peoples of the territory, the house and the indigenous peoples of the area. And they were also pushing southwards, hoping to get to the Atlantic waterfront. Halfway, they met with the British that had gotten hold of the southern part coming. So the line between the Ilorin Benue belt was the front where they had to push themselves backward or forward. After some little skirmishes, they did fight, but not a big fight. It dawned on them that they were on the same mission from outside that territory, like two robbery gangs coming against the same target. Say, why do we go fighting ourselves? Why don't you bring what you have? I bring what I have, and we put it together so that we can begin to share the benefits of it. That was how they brought what the North had and what the British had, and it became a joint venture between them. What came up in 1914 was where those treaties that were made with the indigenous, protection treaties, trading treaties, they are still there. Everybody can go to examine them. The British had turned it into, without reference to those people, had now gone to consolidate it and aggregate it with what the northern, the Fulani Caliphate already had, and it became the 1914 amalgamation. That amalgamation was simply the annexation of southern Nigeria to northern Nigeria. Incidentally, the Lower Niger Congress has the documents that preceded 1914, all of what, step by step, what the British did to arrive at 1914. Therefore, as at 1914, the project Nigeria was not our project. It was the British, it was a business venture by the British,
for the British
and with their local partners, the Fulani Caliphate, that was also on a similar venture. And from the documents we have, most of what we are seeing now were designed to be so. That will have a union of masters and servants, that will have a union in which ignorance will have to be placed above knowledge. We have a union where mediocrity is celebrated above excellence. We have a union where the matter of accountability and all kinds of things that the British organized in the opposite way back home were designed to be upside down. Anyway, we went on, but by the time the resistance began to come, it came mostly from the south. Who was it from the north that fought the British to leave? It was Azikiwe, it was Nohoro, it was Mokugo Koye, it was Awolowo, it was Osita Aguna. Take a map of Nigeria and see where they fought. And therefore, closer to the time the British would really had to go, because after the Second World War, it became clear they couldn't stay for much longer. Now, they began to set up the structures of what will have to happen when they go. And part of what they had governed these territories they had conquered and put together in 3 compartments. Nobody knew exactly what they were doing with the other side. But by 1950-51, of course, they conducted the census to know how many people have been trapped into their enterprise. They went on to begin to organize the first set of meetings between all of them to say, if you were to be one country instead of the 3 that could have been the case,
it should have been.
It should have been. How would you want to organize yourself? Those things led to, they began to do things, but because of the diversity and the clash of civilization you see in one side being, wanting Sharia, and the other side being a Christian and, Republican kind of people. You have feudalism from that part. You have Sharia already in place at that time, because we have these things are in the documents we're talking about. Now, they decided that it was going to be a federation as at that time. That decision was taken in 1954. But how did they come to that decision? By 1953, Enohoro moved the motion for independence, and that motion was